Welcome back to the podcast. Luke, the most viewed TED Talk of all time, someone who's done 3 TED Talks, major innovator of the arts education and got us to think more broadly about education. Major books, I think 5 or 6 books, new manifesto being released, actually, posthumously. It's touched millions of lives and often regarded as a leading figure on creativity, thinking, innovation, and spending his life unlocking organizational and personal creativity. And we're talking about Luke Smith. No, it's Ken Robinson. There's not much of a cliffhanger, I guess, because the episode name will have Ken Robinson in it. But that is our next modern thinker, thought leader to go through. I think it'll be about 10 episodes. We'll see how we go, though. We always come up with other stuff. I know that you know piss all about Ken Robinson, apart from the TED Talk I showed you during the week. So again, I'm so puzzled how you qualify for this role on this podcast.
I don't know what you're doing, mate.
I don't know. I need to speak to management and understand what's going wrong here.
How did I get here?
This absolute imposter stealing my brainwaves and everything.
Well, not just me, but
couldn't tell you the first thing about him. Yeah, for me though, he was a big influence really the last couple of years. I think really him and Seth Godin, when we were starting our education stuff, their voices really seem most similar to what I'd learned through experience, things I talked a lot about with Scott and Gilly. So it's really meaningful to me to be able to do this series on him and hopefully contribute to his amazing legacy. Before I go into a bit more about him, a bit of maybe a creepy or a story that touches me a little bit. Ken Robinson's passed away not long ago. A lot of people done in this series are still alive, with the exception of Alan Watts. But Ken Robinson died on the 21st of August, 2020. And that was actually the same day. Oh, I've actually got it here. I'm holding it. That was the same day we started the retreat for the book for 18 and Lost, which before Concert Student and everything, this was really the beginning. All the personal work we were trying to do in education and career or whatever this thing is, guiding people through their lives. And it was kind of eerie when we found out on the retreat Byron was there. Byron obviously knew who he was. He's in education too. And, it was kind of creepy. And you just can't help but think that there is, I don't know, sometimes significance to these things. Who knows how much to read into it. And it's very much on theme with this guy. He's you can tell he's a very kind man from when you listen to his TED Talks or how he spoke. And he really cared. You could tell that he really cared about people, their stories, like a tribute that his daughter was giving. I watched on YouTube, just talked about he really loved hearing people's stories, no matter how big he got, the millions of people who, kind of heard him and speak, and his profile rose over the years and everything. They say he never lost that love of just hearing people's stories, understanding what drove them and what their dreams were. And I would have loved to have met him. He seems like an incredibly special human being. Now, I thought the 4 main things we could probably get out of unpacking him, but I'm sure there'll be more. But these things are just because if people haven't heard of him and they're thinking about how's this relevant to, I think, fascinating guy. But the 4 things that you might pin your hat on are that you'll discover your real abilities by challenging the old idea of intelligence. Like he was big on challenging the old idea of intelligence. And you'll see what I mean by that as we go through the series. Because to do anything, you must first admit to yourself that you are a creative person. And then there's the idea that people have a lot of resistance to for a lot of complex psychological reasons. Secondly, people-focused education. I think that is a very big concept. Most people tap into less than 1% of their potential, I think. I don't know if people will agree with that, but it's my belief at this point in time until experience tells me otherwise. If you want to disagree with that, I'm happy to hear the conversation. Luke or anyone out there, but I'll unpack why as we go through this. Third, appreciating the multidisciplinary blended view of the world. Like science is often viewed as he talks a bit about it in one of his books, like the influence of the Enlightenment, how logic and reason has really dominated the way we've set up a lot of our modern social structures and education systems. Math and science STEM gets a lot more respect than dance and the arts. That's something that Ken Robinson hated. He thought that they were, yes, valid, but obviously You know, what do they say? I think math is the only exact pure science, like with black and white,
Is
right
equal
and
to
wrong.
this, for example.
Yeah, science still requires judgment, confidence levels, and science and art are not necessarily as like distinct and separate. I mean, it's not purely mechanical process science. Like you still have to have the creativity to formulate a hypothesis that you're then going to investigate. It's not purely just testing. So I think that's fascinating right here. Really multidisciplinary view, which reminds me a lot of Charlie Munger, another big multidisciplinarian when thinking about education. And a multidisciplinarian in practice is probably someone like Da Vinci, the ultimate example. It's always who we hold up as like the Renaissance person. And then number 4, just how much we've held people back with our current systems and tendencies, which I guess overlaps with number 2. So that's terrible prep from me. But yeah, those are pretty big things. Those are pretty big things. And he has a number of books. He's done 3 TED Talks. We're going to talk about one of his books that I read a while ago, Out of Our Minds, all about creativity, and that's foundational. He had a couple others, but we'll just focus on that one. And we'll also unpack his 3 TED Talks, including the most viewed TED Talk of all time at this point in time, which is pretty big. Think about that in proportion to all the people who've spoken it, and that this guy is the most viewed TED Talk of all time. He's done 3 TED Talks. And a lot of people may not have heard of him. You're certainly about to, I think, fall in love a little bit with Ken Robinson, just like I and so many others have. So I won't go too much into anything else today. It's just an intro. But Luke, do you have any questions before we
Yes.
get underway? Yep.
Yeah, I have a question. So you placed Ken Robinson and Seth Godin as 2 extremely influential characters in your development. Why? Is there any particular reason that comes to mind?
On the specific area of education,
Okay.
I really thought that they had a very good, clear, broad perspective on like the main challenges and how it should look. Seth Godin, someone will come to do a series on as well, obviously. Big raps for that guy. But see, you'll notice that they weren't isolated to just education or isolated to schools. This was the very first thing we talked about with Taleb. To really innovate, you must go way beyond the original current corpus of an industry. So Seth Godin, from his big themes are modern careers, leadership, marketing, in particular marketing from first principles, and I'd say even ethics within marketing, the concept of remarkability. He wrote the book The Purple Cow and everything like that. And creativity, being an artist in the most broadest sense. And so it's not just education in a silo. And Ken Robinson is quite similar, because you can't speak about education without speaking about these other parts of society. Right? If a principal is going to be a principal of a school is going to be the person to tell us how education should be better, for example, as a contrast, and they haven't had experience or exposure to in depth to other parts of the world and other industries. I mean, everyone has a valid perspective, right? But point is that it must be a broader view, because education must connect us with other practical. What does it serve? It's not there to serve itself. It's not there to justify its own existence. It should be there to make us thrive. And we've talked about this a lot, but for anyone who's new to the podcast, that is one of the key ideas we keep coming back to, right? Like, why does this matter? Why does education matter? Well, education is the system we use to shape everyone in society. Pretty much everyone has come through this system. And even if you are homeschooled, you're still indirectly influenced by the society created by the dominant system of education. And I see more and more scary side effects of this system as I go through the work with Constant Student and get to know more young people and what they're going through in their lives. And I won't mention anyone, never mention anyone specifically by name with the challenges they're having and stuff, but I will draw on some examples too, because the things are getting missed. So we better wrap it there today, but good question. And just encourage anyone to follow along. So just a reminder, we have daily episodes. We'll unpack one key idea or thing a day from Ken Robinson. We've done other series on people like Taleb, Peter Thiel, Alan Watts, Tim Ferriss. I'm starting to forget who we've done now. I think I'm missing someone. Naval. And so that's prior, and you can check it out on YouTube. You can check it out Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you get your podcasts. And then if you just want the daily episodes, if you just want one no bullshit summary a week, that's on the newsletter. You can check it out in the description at Everything Joe, the link that says Everything Joe. Yeah, so that's it for today. Now, tomorrow, the first idea, so we're going to go into his book, Out of Our Minds, and a very big topic, Luke, why your life is not linear.
Keen to unpack that.
All right, and see you for that tomorrow.